Did you enjoy your time at Wembley? Obviously, winning the playoffs. Did you enjoy that moment?
Well, I did. Obviously, you go there and it's a great event. It's a great time. Don't get me wrong. When you get success at Wembley, and then you've got to do all that after-match celebration and go round the open-top bus, and you've got to meet the mayor and all the things that take place, then it shortens your time period to prepare for the next season, being in the Premier League. And I've said that before. That first window was difficult. There's no doubt the second window becomes very important. But the Wembley event was great. Christie, obviously, it was a great achievement. It was a special day for the fans and the players and the staff and the board and everybody concerned. It was just unfortunate that when we took the next step, then the goalposts were changing and people decided to go in a different direction.
So just on that then, so you mentioned throughout the podcast around your values and your behaviour and your communication. So you've got those kind of set standards for yourself, Billy, and then you mentioned maybe the board are not aligning with those values and you don't want to maybe create conflict. How do you deal with that in terms of, okay, you're in a position where you're a Premier League manager and you're probably thinking this is everything that I've wanted and worked for, and then those values from a club perspective is hard and you're leading down, but obviously leading up can be a challenge. How do you cope with that as a manager? I'm just trying to get some insight on how you deal with such issues.
Well, again, you get to the end of that very good success where you sit down and you start to plan for the new challenge in the Premier League. I think we all know that the Premier League is a place where money has to be spent. If you're going to compete, then you've got to be a big spending club. Otherwise, you'll find yourself, just as Southampton are finding at the minute, life can be very difficult in the Premier League. And there's a lot of very, very experienced clubs in there with a great deal of spending. I think, if I remember right, Christie, I think that season that we found ourselves Premier League, the first window, I think Spurs, we were a top 6, maybe top 10 club in the Premier League at that time. They went and spent 50 million on the first window to add to their squad. I think our spend at that time was just over 10. And it became very clear to us that obviously there was changes afoot. But when you find yourself in that position, that's a board decision. You know, at the end of the day, you get disappointed. You feel let down, the fans feel let down, the players feel let down. But you've just got to go in there and you've got to do the best with what you've got. And we knew that we didn't have the necessary tools to compete with the level that we found ourselves in. And what you were hoping for is you were hoping, just like Steve Cooper found at Forest, where he found himself in a very difficult place at Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. They were all calling for his head. And you've got to give great credit to the board of Forest for the way that they stood by Stevie Cooper in the Premier League. They stuck with him. They settled everyone down. And eventually the lad went on to do some great things. And yeah, that's great credit to the board. And that's the type of board support that you need when you go into the Premier League as a new boy. And when you've got that support that's standing by you, like the Forest board did with Cooper, then I've got to say it's great credit to these people. And well done, Steve, for doing what you've done.
If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button down below. The bigger the channel, the bigger the guests. And the bigger the guests, the better the production, better entertainment for you to explore. So it's free to do. Click the subscribe button down below and enjoy the podcast. Do you feel maybe then, just on reflection, that the board could have been a little bit more supportive on that in hindsight?
No, the board had their agenda. The board had their plan. That's entirely up to them. They put their money in. They've won the big prize after 11 months. They decide they were going to become that outgoing board selling club. That's their choice. There's nothing the manager or the players or the staff can do. We've just got to do what we can and hopefully get their support, as we talked about with the Nottingham Forest situation. So when you get that support, then you can build and develop. When you get that time and you get those people around you, they give you that backing. But when you find in a very difficult situation where it is an outgoing board, it is a selling club, and things are changing, then you've just got to accept that there's going to be changes, and it's only a matter of time.
Just to kind of dig deeper on that, and I'm just interested on the concept of leaving a football club. So obviously, you know, Sky Sports News and all these news channels glamorify, you know, sackings and people resigning, etc. I'm just interested in what the process is like leaving a club, Billy. So that time at Derby comes to an end. What is it like for you in terms of that process? I know it's not nice and it's not the best news that you want to hear, but is there a meeting? Is it done informally? Is it done formally? I'm just intrigued on that process of leaving a club, because there might be people listening and watching that see it glamified but don't really know the intricate things that happen. Could you maybe inform us on that?
Well, I think the first indication came after the Wembley win, when the press were asking me, do you think you will still be here next year? Right. Christy, I'm thinking, hold on a second. We've just won Premier League, just won this game into the Premier League. And here I am in the after-match press conference, and some of the press are asking me, do you think you will still be here next year? Now, as far as I'm concerned, there's a long stage between getting that promotion and then getting into the Premier League and then getting sacked. I've got to say, Christy, the smell of death had arrived a long time before the sacking came. So it wasn't new, it wasn't a surprise. We knew it was coming and we knew what was going on. So you've just got to be professional. You've got to deal with everybody as best as you can. You've got to try and be as organised as you can, but you know that the opposition is real quality. And there's a good chance that when you go to Liverpool and you go to Arsenal, and you're going to take some heavy defeats in this very early stages, particularly with a club that's got this, if you like, this agenda. When the phone call does come in and you're called to that meeting, then it doesn't come as a great surprise. You're already prepared for it. You know the situation. You've already had that discussion with your staff. And you've just got to accept that this is football. Some clubs stick by their managers. Other clubs throw their managers to the wolves. That's entirely their decision and how they conduct themselves. But we found ourselves getting that call, making that change after a very, if you like, very early time in the Premier League. And Christy, I've said time and time again, I wasn't in the Premier League. I only visited the Premier League. And it was unfortunate the way it went. But the call comes in, you accept what they're saying and the changes they're making, and you just go on with life and look forward to the next chapter.
Were you hesitant to maybe go to Forest because of the Derby connection? I'm just interested on that from maybe a rival point of view. Did that ever cross your mind?
No, again, you always give courtesy to the people that want to speak to you. Forest were a club that came in. I'd already spoken to them before I joined Derby when they were in League One. And I met a lovely Nigel Doughty, sadly not here with us. But I had a great meeting with Nigel when Forest were in that League One. I decided to go elsewhere. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I get contacted by Nigel Doughty. I had a very good meeting down in London, down in Mayfair, with Nigel. He explained the situation. It was a very clear instruction. Get us out of this division. Take nothing to do with anything else, just focus on the first team. Everything else is responsibility is for other people to deal with. And I was delighted to join such a wonderful club. The fans were magnificent. The place was just different from Derby County. It was much more of you could just smell the Brian Clough and the good old times that they had at Forest, the stadium, the type of Boardroom and etc. And I've got to say, Christy, it was a great challenge. I looked at that as a wonderful challenge. It was a great opportunity. And I was excited about that.